Hello, my front-end friends. If you have a grid of cards like I have right here, the last thing you want to do is start mucking around with media queries here to try and get things to work at different screen sizes. Like here, I actually probably want to make this 5, and maybe this is 720, and then maybe you even need larger breakpoints than that. And the whole thing can be really hard to magic number and get where you want. And I think I'm still a little bit too squished there than what I'd really like. And it becomes a little bit of a nightmare and definitely not what we want. So I'm actually going to delete all this, and we're going to look at how we can have the browser figure out and do all of the work for us by exploring the autofit and autofill keywords. We're going to look at the difference between the two of them, which one you want to use in what situation, and how we can actually make the whole thing easy to understand and more user-friendly as well as we go through all of this. So here with the display grid, as I said, we're going to come in with the grid template columns. Again, we still need that. And normally you wouldn't make a new line for this. I'm going to do it just because I'm in a demo to keep everything from having to have side scrolling or word wrap on. And I'm going to do the repeat syntax. So before, like if I did 3-1FR here, I just get 3 columns all the time. But instead of using a number here, I can use either autofit or autofill. And the two of them are very similar, but there's a key difference between the two of them. If you're not sure which one to use, try one, and if it works, then you're okay. But I will say that I always start with autofit, and I find autofit gets you there 95% of the time. So we're going to start with that one, understand how autofit works, and then see the situation where you might want to use autofill after. Now, if I did it just like this, I'm actually only going to get 1 column. And that's because I'm using the FR, which is basically like use the space available. So they're all using the space available. I could switch this out for something like 100 pixels. That's probably too small. Let's do 200. And what that means is it's going to create as many columns as it can as possible that are 200 pixels wide. And I wouldn't do this, but you can see here it's working. The problem is it's not squishy or responsive at all. It just makes the columns as we need them. And as I'm making things bigger and smaller, we get less columns and more content just wrapping down below. It's getting there. It's a lot closer to what I want, but the problem is now that they're not filling up the extra space and it looks kind of ugly. So that's where we come in with the min-max here instead. So with a min-max function, you're saying the smallest you want them to get and the biggest that you want them to get to. And in this case, 200 is a bit too small. Let's come in with like 275 maybe as the smallest. And as we saw before, when I had 1FR on there, that's just like take up as much space as you can. So I can say the smallest is 275, the biggest is 1FR, and that means it will try and be 275, but if there's more room, it will fill it up. And then we get to 3 columns, then we go to 2 columns, then we go down to 1 column, and it works really, really well. But I will warn you, when you set things up like this with a fixed value here, depends how small it is, and different situations you will have different numbers that come in here. It does open up the possibility of overflow. So that's something to watch out for. And we're going to see how we can fix that because it's actually a really easy fix. It just makes things a little bit less readable. And then we'll look at how we can actually fix up the readability of it as well. And of course, we have the autofill to also look at. I do want to let you know, though, really quickly before I continue, that if you're interested in how I even built this out, and look at this, we have a nice little animation that's coming into these as we sort through the different ones on here. So if you want to know how I created all of this, this is actually part of my course, Professional CSS on Front-End Masters, where I look at building out this entire project from scratch, going from a provided design to creating this responsive website that we have here. So we have like the nice little responsive menu that's animated that comes in. It's a 2-page design. We end up exporting all of this and like publishing it on the web and everything coming in. So we have this, I don't know, I think it's a pretty fun project. I really enjoyed creating it. And so we look at how we do everything starting from 0, going all the way up, creating all the functionality, the nice little transitions and everything else, plus a lot more. So if you're curious about it, there is a link down in the description. And if you're just here for this grid, then awesome, because we're about to keep on continuing with the grid right now by looking at how we can fix the overflow issue. And to highlight that overflow issue, I will make this a bigger number of 500. So if we're at 500, which is not going to create multiple columns, let's actually go down. Can I get 2 columns if we're at 400? Let's just see here. There we go. So we go from 2 columns down to 1 column, but then at one point we will get overflow here where it's going left to right because the smallest my columns can get to is 400 pixels. And anytime you have something that you sort of want to have a cap on how small it can get, but you don't want to run into overflow issues, the trick is to use the min function. So in the min-max, which is kind of weird, I am going to put a min function here and then 100%. And this looks really, really bizarre, especially when it's inside of a min-max and the readability starts going out the window. So if you come across this code in 6 months, or if somebody else is looking at the code, they might be a bit confused. So we'll fix this up in a minute to make it more readable. But I just want to show you that it fixes the problem, and we're going to explain why. So you can see it's still working as intended without any overflow issues coming in. And the reason for that is the way the min is working is it's going, the smallest you should be is either 400 pixels or 100%, whichever of these two values is smaller. So most of the time, 400 pixels will be smaller because now 100% is clearly much bigger. It's looking at the size of the parent, which is basically the size of the viewport right now. And so it's going, 400 pixels is smaller, 400 pixels is smaller. But then here where my viewport starts going smaller than 400 pixels, in this range, where my viewport's only like 362 pixels wide, in these situations, well, now 100% is smaller than 400. So now it's actually going to use this as its minimum size, and it prevents any overflow from happening. Cool. So I'm going to leave it like that. We're going to do all the readability and fixing things up at the very end. I want to explore the auto fit keyword now though. And so I'm going to make this, we'll go back down to like the 275 because I actually think that worked quite well with how we had this set up. And with that there, what I want to do is when we have this, it's just creating as many columns as it needs for everything. So let's go down over to summer and take a look here where when I filter down to summer, we now have 5 columns, which is perfect. And we have this empty space here because we have 5 columns. If you want these bottom 2 to stretch and fill up all of the space, then you should probably be using Flexbox instead, especially if you have dynamic content where you don't know how many rows of content you're going to have. By far the easiest way to do that would be with Flexbox. It's exactly how or what Flexbox is intended for. But if I go down to my spring one, you might have noticed this when I did the filtering animation before, it looks kind of weird because they're wider, right? So if you go from here and then you go to that, like, why do my cards get wider? It doesn't feel natural for that type of thing to happen. And the way auto fit works is it will create as many columns as it can to fill using this as the minimum size. But the thing with it is if you only have 2 elements or 1 element or whatever it might be, it's not going to create extra columns for non-existent content. Whereas if I come in with an autofill instead, it will create extra columns for non-existent content. And if you're using this for more of like a traditional layout where you just don't know how many columns you're going to have, you probably don't want that, because you could just end up in these situations where you have this empty thing like this and it looks a little bit weird. But in a situation like this where I'm filtering things, to me, it makes a lot more sense if I'm going from there to here that my cards all stay the same size. And if I just don't have enough cards, the user's going to understand that, okay, I filtered it down and it just, there's an empty thing there because I only have 2 cards and it fits within the bigger picture of everything and makes it for a little bit easier to understand instead of the layout randomly switching all of a sudden. Because I find like the layout switching when you go from here to say summer, like it makes sense there's only one, right? So yeah, in this case, the autofill to me is the better option. And if you have more elements like we had before, if I go up to spring and I go to editable, where we have nothing, let's go to summer, there we go. If we have more elements than we have columns, the 2 of them won't actually make a difference, right? It's the exact same result. The only time that you see the difference between the 2 of them is when you have less elements than you have columns, whether that ends up being something that's going to stretch across like auto fit will, or do you want the extra empty columns which autofill will give you. You don't have to remember the 2 of them and exactly what they do. You just have to remember the 2 of them exist and try one. If it's not the one you want, you try the other one. That's generally the best way to do it. I always start with auto fit, but that might just be because of the type of layouts I'm generally building. You might feel like autofill is the default for you. Go with whichever one. I would just pick one as your default, and then in the situations where you need another one, you use the other one. Now, let's make all of this more readable because it is a little bit awkward. And even like, you know, if I wasn't using this and then you do this and then maybe you turn word wrap on or something, like no matter what you do, it's not the most user-friendly thing. So what I'm going to do is come in with a couple of locally scoped custom properties instead. So in my mushroom grid, which first of all, I wouldn't call this mushroom grid. I'd probably call this grid autofill. And then I would actually reuse this. I'm going to change that now. And this is how I did it in the front-end masters course. So we'll do the same thing, grid autofill. Because even in this course, I only use this in this one place. But this is definitely the type of pattern that you could repeat in, in a whole bunch of places. You could reuse this with completely different content anywhere you need. So linking it directly to like a specific part of your layout probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's come in here, and I had the minimum size of 275. So I could say that my grid min col size is 275 pixels, like that. And then now we could just copy that because it's quite long. And then I replace this min with my var of my grid min col size, like that. And now nothing's different, but when I come back later, I don't have to remember how this works. I just have to know, oh, I actually need to tweak this. I want to make that 375, and now my minimum column size is 375. Or I want it to be 175, and now my min column size is 175. Makes it very easy to update here. And if you are reusing this in a whole bunch of different places on your website, then it's also really easy because you could just update the custom property here in the different places that you're using it. Whether that's through a modifier class, through a data attribute, through an inline style, whatever works best for you and how you're working. And then you have these different options without having to recreate these types of grids over and over again. And I absolutely love using custom properties for things like this. And in the course, I dive much more into some of the other ways I love to use custom properties as well. So if you are interested in that course, the link to it once again is down in the description below. And with that, I would like to thank my enablers of awesome, Andrew, Simon, and Tim, as well as all my other patrons and channel members for their monthly support. And of course, until next time, don't forget to make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.